Hey guys, Dylan from Noble Records coming at you with another video. Really excited to do vinyl tag this year. So if you don't know what vinyl tag is something that kind of comes around the first of the year, and a lot of YouTube channels, record-related YouTube channels, come up with questions, like 20 questions to answer just to do a video. It's basically just an excuse to do one. And it's just kind of a prompt on each question to show a certain record in your collection. So every year, a bunch of different people come out with different versions and everything. I kind of looked at all the versions this year, and I was like, well, I don't know if I'll do it because my collection is different than theirs, and I think that I couldn't. It didn't line up with what I had. And I just was like, well, screw it, I won't do it this year. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just do my own. So I encourage you to do one if you don't have a channel. This is a good opportunity to do a video, your very first video. If you go back to my very first video, my first video was called Vinyl Community Introduction. I was really desperate to be in the vinyl community. And then my second video was Vinyl Tag. So, and basically, like, it's a really comfortable thing, since you don't really have to come up with anything other than, following these 20 questions or whatever. So, like I said, there's a bunch of different versions. I think you should just pick whichever one that you like best, that kind of you think will showcase your collection the best, and go for it. And if there's not one, come up with your own 20 questions. Just have fun with it. The whole point is to have fun with it. So, I'll get started, and if you don't know what vinyl tag is, you'll get the hang of it. But it's just I chose these 20 questions, and what I like about them is that it's making me choose things I really wouldn't normally choose to show. So I'm showing a lot of things that I might have not ever shown before. So some things I've definitely shown before, some things I show over and over again, and then some things I know I haven't shown. So anyways, so all the questions are in the description of this video. If you want to get in there, copy those questions, or you can do questions for anybody's versions of vinyl tag. They're all good. Number one is your best find of 2022. Now, I have shown my Led Zeppelin 1 test pressing ad nauseum. I even made it has its own video. So I thought I would show this. This is in the same league, just as rare probably. This is DR Hooker, The Truth. So I'm going to say number one is best find of 2022. It's probably this bad boy. And I hate it that it wasn't really my best find because my friend found it. But he was at an estate sale and found this thing for $1. And this is one of the rarest records in my collection now. He sent me a picture of it. And I was like, we have to work something out. So I traded him a bunch of records and money for it. And he gave me a good deal on it. I got a good deal. I'm happy with it. But it's near mint. And it's autographed. But this is a really, really killer psychedelic record. Something I really never thought I would own. Even the reissues are kind of hard to get now, but this is a really killer record. And like I said, if I had to, say which records in my collection are the rarest or most valuable, this one's way up there at the top. With my Fraction Moonblood. So that's my best find, probably my best get of 2022, aside from that Zeppelin test pressing and the Zeppelin road case. We won't go into all that, but artists you recently discovered. This is and this could be anything. Like, there's so many artists that I'm recently discovering, but this is one called Bacamarte. This is, my Spanish is a wee bit rusty, but this is like some Spanish prog, and it's really, really freaking gnarly. I bought a batch of prog records from a guy and kind of blind bought this one. It wasn't too expensive, but it was expensive enough. It was a kind of a risk to get it, but I was like, it'd probably be really good. Everything else he had was really good. So got it, listened to it, and I listened to it when I was getting ready for this video. And it's out of this world, man. Really, really good. Like Spanish prog with some synth and fuzz guitar. It's really cool. Number three is A Perfect Album. And I was going to show Joni Mitchell Blue, but I show that one all the time. I was going to show Jeff Buckley Grace, but that one gets shown all the time. So I thought I'd show this one. This one is Soundgarden Bad Motorfinger. I think this is a first U.S. press on yellow wax. In my opinion, this does not have a bad second on it. This is an absolute smoker of a record. I don't talk about it enough, but this is one of my absolute favorite grunge records. Just really, really killer. Love that record so much. I got a long story and a history with that record. We won't go there. Let's see. Number four is a song that made you cry or get close. So this could be a song or an album or whatever. But this one, you know, and a lot of these questions, whatever your first answer comes to your head, that's usually the one you go with. And this is the first thing that popped in my head is this Jason Isbell. This album is insane. You know, Jason Isbell had a great history with Drive-By Truckers, and then he started making his own albums, and they were really good. But this one really launched him into just the stratosphere of greatest songwriters of all time. Amazing songs on here. Let's see, you know, Cover Me Up is probably the biggest hit on here. But the song Elephant on here is, oh my gosh, it made me a Jason Isbell fan. He was one of those artists that I knew was really good, but I just couldn't get into him. I heard this record and I heard Elephant. I think I cried. It's such, like, it puts you there, man. I mean, go listen to that song. It is a little morbid. It is a little dark. But it is just, I mean, to be able to write a song like that from someone's perspective. And I don't know if it came from a true story or it's just something he thought up. You know, it's genius. Absolutely brilliant songwriting. Terrible album cover. The first thing that popped in my head, and I know I've shown this before, but any excuse I have to show this, I will. This is called a band called Hot Poop. Hot Poop does their own stuff. And the album cover is the absolute worst album cover I have. And I love it. So you've got this guy right here. And he's taking a dump, right? And he's taking the dump into a plate. And this lady is taking the plate to this person here who is heating it up. And this person is putting it in a syringe and shooting it into this guy's arm. So they're injecting poop into their veins. It is a real mess. And if you think the front cover's bad, you should see the back cover. Whew. Terrible album. But this is a really cool album. I really actually like this album. It's weird. I mean, yeah, obviously it's weird, but it's just one of those bizarre albums, but the music's actually, the guys are pretty good. So that was terrible album cover, number 5. Number 6 is the album that would surprise your friends. This would surprise anybody that knows me. My wife would probably be surprised by this, that I own this record. But everyone has that record in their collection that if somebody came over and looked, they'd be like, I don't even have this, you know. And this is Saba, Care For Me. This is a hip-hop album, and this is a new hip-hop album. Not new, but modern hip-hop. I usually do not like this type of thing. Modern hip-hop, for the most part, grinds my gears so bad. I was watching a Whatnot auction the other day, and there's all this modern hip-hop that was selling, you know, and some of that stuff is really limited and worth a ton of money. And the prices that these were going for were astronomical. And I was like, what the heck? I've got to listen to this stuff. It's got to be good. No, it doesn't. Some of it was horrible, unlistenable. Anyways, that is not this. This is really good. It's like a mellow, I don't know, man. I mean, it does definitely have that modern hip-hop feel to it. And there's definitely a part of it. When I hear it, I don't really understand why I like it. You know? It's out of my character to like it, but I do. It's very, very mellow, conscious rap and hip-hop. It's really good. I don't know much about it, really, but I heard it. Someone recommended it to me, and I heard it. And I went on Discogs and ordered it. I liked it so much, which I never do that. But this is Vinyl Me Please. And I just listened to it getting ready for this video because I hadn't heard it in a while. But it's a really good album if you like that type of thing. Okay, next one is Guilty Pleasure. You guys probably know this about me. It would have been low-hanging fruit for me to choose Creed because you guys know I like Creed. But I didn't want to choose Creed because I thought I'd choose this Limp Bizkit. Guys, it's high energy. It gets me going. When I'm on a run or something, I throw it on my headphones. It's just one of those days when you don't want to wake up, you know? It's just one of those just killer. But anyways, I won't say it's a killer record. It's not. But I like it. And that's all that matters. Limp Bizkit, Significant Other. Break Stuff is just a killer track. They're probably their biggest song ever, probably, I would imagine. But anyways, I mean, it's as time went on for Limp Bizkit, their first album being their best probably, it just they just kind of lost that steam. But I liked Limp Bizkit a little bit back then, not a whole lot. And then over the years, as I've listened to it, I really do like it a lot. So I won't say a lot. I enjoy it. It's nostalgic for me. Don't judge me. The album it took you longest to find. This is gonna blow you guys' mind. I have it. I found it. I've mentioned it. So big shout out to Bobby. Nice guy that called the shop one day and was like, "Hey, I have a original US Nirvana Nevermind that I don't want and I'd like to sell." He bought it. From what he told me back in the day, he always collected records, and one of his friends was like, "You got to hear this new Nirvana record. It's amazing." And so he went out and bought it and listened to it once and hated it. So he's like, "I just put it on the shelf and never listened to it again. It's not my thing." And so, I called him and told him the things to check for, and he knew what he was doing. He knew exactly what it was. He's like, "Yeah, it says master disc in it and stuff." So there's two versions. There's a club version, and then there's the retail version, which is the master disc version, which is this. The master disc version is the one it's supposed to sound amazing. Mike from the End Groove says this is the best pressing. It's way better than Mo-Fi, all that stuff. I'm going to agree with him and listen, but it sounds amazing. And I've wanted this for years, and I've just not ever been able to find an affordable copy. It's just not ever come along at the right time. He was willing to just send it to me, and we make a deal. We made one. We're both happy. It's great. So thank you, Bobby. You're the man. So that's the album it took you longest to find, number 8. Number 9 is your number 1 most wanted. And I do not normally share this information. When I told everybody that Farm was my number 1 most wanted record. And I said, I will never do that again. Because you know what happened? A bunch of people found Farm. Like, not a bunch of people, but several people found Farm. And then they kind of like dangled it over my head and tried to make me dance. They were like, "What will you give me for it?" And I know one guy that is, a couple guys that I know actually found it, and then they were like, "Hey, we want like $2,500, $3,000 for it," and I'm like, "That's too much. Yeah, I'm not going to pay that," And they just were trying to extort me, pretty much. And I was like, "I will wait until I find a reasonable one." So, but I am going to share with you my number 1 most wanted is Stark Reality. And in the end, since everyone knew Farm was my number 1, someone offered me one at a reasonable price because they knew I wanted it. So hopefully that will happen in this case. In the end, I got it because I told you guys. So this is an album called Stark Reality. It's really, really good. John Abercrombie on guitar. It's a Hoagie Carmichael music shop. So I believe Hoagie Carmichael's music shop was a kids' TV show, I believe. And they played like the soundtrack for it. But it doesn't sound like a kid's TV show. It's insane. It's nuts. It's like psychedelic mind blower. This is a 3 LP reissue by now. Again, it's got some extra stuff on it. But the original is what I really, really want. I've been wanting it for a very, very long time. And it's just this one record I cannot find, no matter what. A couple years ago it was Farm that I couldn't find no matter what. And then there was another record that I couldn't find no matter what. And I actually just got it today. So that's pretty cool. So this is now the number 1 record that I almost had this record last week. A shop that is a friend of mine got one in, and literally the second he put it up on Instagram, somebody ran in the shop and grabbed it. So I was just like a second too late. It sucks. But anyways, so that's my number 1 most wanted. Number 10 is favorite new release of 2022. My favorite new release from 2022 is there's a band called 49 Winchester. They put out an album this year. It's really, really good, and I love it. But it's at the shop right now. I play it all the time. So this is probably equally good. This Bonnie Light Horseman, they came out with a new record. Rolling Golden Holy. Great. They came out with a record in 2020 that I really liked. This one is really good as well. I did not really get into a lot of new music in 2022, which is regrettable. But, there's so much music in the past, it's hard to keep up with the present. King Gizzard put out a couple albums that I really liked. A bunch of bands put out some albums I liked. It was hard for me to think of something that I actually had on vinyl. So anyways, that's what I'm going to go with. 49 Winchester. That one was really, really good. Anyways, So let's see. So that was number 10. Number 11 is an album with an animal on the cover. This is a really cool one. So this is Sharky Signposts. I got this in Asheville. This is one I've been wanting for a while. What drew me into this one was the album cover. It is such a cool album cover. But this was this guy. I'm trying to remember where he was from. California, I guess. I feel like he was from like Oregon or something. I can't remember. But he was like a guitar teacher, just like a local musician, and he ended up putting this album out. It was really limited, really rare. And it's kind of like psychedelic folk rock, and it's a really, really cool album. The cover would lead you to believe that it was a little bit of a softer record, but it's got a lot of hard rock on it and some great fuzz guitar solos. So I love this album cover. I love an album cover with an animal on it. I love it. That's just one of my favorites. The number 12 is an album of the story. Buckle in, guys. I'm about to tell you a killer story. I've never told this story before. Never. I've told it to a couple friends, but never on the channel. So the album is, you know it, Led Zeppelin 3. And a lot of times when I'm listening to Tangerine, this comes to mind. I was 14 years old, and I had never really listened to this album very much. I'd listened to Led Zeppelin 2 and Led Zeppelin 4 a good bit, but I had not listened to this one much. Maybe I think I listened to Led Zeppelin 1 a good bit, but my friend's dad had a CD of this, and he made me a copy of the CD. He burned me a copy illegally, and he gave it to me before I went on this trip to the beach with my family. Every year we went to the beach, and we loved it. It was our favorite thing. So this particular trip, my dad wasn't there. It was just me and my mom and my sister. My two sisters, actually. And we were on this trip, and we're out on the beach, and just everything turns dark, and the freaking, we saw a darn funnel cloud, just it was nuts. So a hurricane's coming through. We're freaking out. We run. We jump in the car, and we're trying to drive. Our whole entire condo or whatever that we're staying in is getting evacuated. So we're turning on the radio. We're trying to figure out where to go. The only place that they're evacuating everybody to is this local high school. So, we have nothing, right? We had the clothes on our backs. We had time to throw a couple things in the bag, but we really didn't have anything. So we went in this local high school, and this is the middle of summertime. They're not having school right now, And we go in there, and they're ushering everybody in there and giving everybody a spot. So we're laying in the middle of a hallway against a bunch of lockers, and they're like, this is where you're going to sleep tonight, along with hundreds of other people. It was bananas. Go look back on it, it's crazy. But so we're all sitting there, and we're all laying on the ground, and we get comfortable, and they pass out all these gym mats from the gymnasium for people to sleep on, because nobody had anything. So they pass everything out. We're all sitting, we're all relaxing, we're exhausted. And I lay down, and I throw on Led Zeppelin 3 on my headphones, and I listen to it all night. But when I hear the song Tangerine, it always brings me back to being in that gymnasium, thinking I'm gonna freaking die. Being it's insane to think that we were sleeping in a hallway with hundreds of people that we did not know, and it smelled terrible in there. It was just a crazy story. And then the next morning, we woke up in the morning, everybody was ushered into the cafeteria. We all ate stale cereal and milk, and they let us go. That was it. We enjoyed the rest of our trip. Everything else was fine, but it was just this strange moment in the middle of the night where I'm sitting there listening to Led Zeppelin 3, just looking around, peeking to see if anybody else was awake, and making strange eye contact with different people, and it was just weird. So anyways, that's one heck of a story. You had to be there. It was weird. All right, so anyways, number 13 is an album from a faraway land. This is Flower Traveling Band. You guys know the album Satori. I've shown that one many times. This is made in Japan, so this is how it came in this Japanese box with the obi strip on it and everything. Just a really cool, it's Japanese hard rock. I love Flower Traveling Band. So good. Your latest Rabbithole. Now, for me as a collector, you guys may not be this way, but I'm always like going down a rabbit hole. You guys know that. Last year went through a crazy tear of just like Zamrock, and then I was on a rabbit hole, listening to grunge, and all I was collecting, all I was listening to. And then I go in and out. I'm always looking for hard rock stuff, and I'm always looking for like funk. But lately, I have gone down the rabbit hole of like more, I wouldn't say free jazz, but jazz is a little bit more out there, you know. Spiritual jazz, jazz funk, and, you know, I would say free jazz to an extent. So that's a lot of stuff on the Strata East label. So this is one I just recently got. A Spirit Speaks by the Descendants of Mike and Phoebe. This is a really cool record. I think I recently told the story behind this record, but this is just a Strata East that I recently got. So I'm kind of looking for, I want to get everything on Strata East, which is probably not too terribly difficult, not too big of a goal, because I can't remember how many releases there are. There's like 60 or 70, I think. And then there's, I'd like to get everything on Blackfire, and I'd like to get everything on Black Jazz. And I'd like to get everything on the original Strata label, like the Detroit-based sister label of Strata East. I'd like to get everything on those labels. That's a rabbit hole that I've been going down a little bit lately. That's just one of them. I've got a few things that I'm, going on. 15 is The Artwork Doesn't Match the Music. This is Ruth Copeland. I Am What I Am. I remember when I first found this record, I was like, I want to hear this, but I tried to, in my mind, you paint a picture in your head of what it's going to be like. And I thought it was going to be like, my mind was like Cher with maybe a little bit of a hard rock edge to it. That was in my head, like a little bit of a harder rock version of Cher, or a rock and roll version of Cher. I don't know. That's what I thought. Just based on the cover, No, this is funk. This is nasty funk, and it's got Eddie Hazel on it. It's got a bunch of guys from Parliament Funkadelic on it. So this is a killer funk record, but you would not know that based on the cover. Let's see. 16 is The Best Bargain Find. This is probably my best bargain find of all time. I found a lot of things at Goodwill over the years. Found a lot of things in collections over the years that I just didn't know what it was till later. A lot of things I've found. I buy at least 1,000 records a week. So when you do that, you end up finding a lot of crazy stuff. But this particular one, I almost didn't even buy. That's not true. I was going to buy it. But anyway, I saw this. This was Victor Perina's Kingdom Come. I've talked about this record a good bit. I was digging somewhere and just kind of going through somebody's collection, and I didn't know them and they didn't know me, and I was just going through. It's the kind of thing where you pick out a record and say, how much for this? And they'd say $10. How much for this? $3, whatever. So I saw this record and I didn't know what it was, but every instinct in my body says grab it. So I grabbed it. Victor Perina's Kingdom Come. The artwork is almost like it's what do you call it? Screen printed on there. Silk screened on there. And it's just this crazy spaceman with all these scandalous ladies in space. You don't not grab a record that looks like that. This was years ago. And I said, how much for this record? And he's like, that record sucks. $5. And I was like, okay, I'll take a chance for $5. I mean, there's no way it ain't worth $5. That cover, I was thinking, if it's not good, I'll frame the cover because this cover's so insane. So I took it home, threw it on the turntable, and I was like, it's crazy. And I started doing the research, and then this is a very valuable and rare album. But you guys know The Crazy World of Arthur Brown. Arthur Brown had a band. It was kind of psychedelic rock essential, late 60s, early 70s. And Victor Perina was a keyboard synthesizer player in his band. He did his own album, and it is absolute prog bananas, and it's freaking amazing. So I love it. Victor Perino's Kingdom Come. We'll say an album that takes you back to a specific time, number 17. This is Ben Harper, Diamonds on the Inside. This album, so when I was in high school, I was into, I was a hippie, had long hair, drove a Volkswagen Beetle, all that stuff. But I was into, acoustic rock type stuff. There's a lot of stuff coming out at that time. I wasn't really into Dave Matthews and stuff. All my friends were, but I really couldn't get into him that much. I liked him. I saw him live in like 2004, which was great. But everybody was into like Jack Johnson, and Jack Johnson I liked, but was a little bit softer than I liked. I liked something with a little bit more edge to it. So I started like branching off into other bands, but Ben Harper and the Innocent Criminals are one of my favorites. They were just real nasty, funky, but still killer guitar. Ben Harper plays like a lap steel, electric lap steel. Amazing musician. Oh my gosh. But I think Ben Harper taught Jack Johnson how to play guitar or something like that. But I liked him. I liked Donovan Frankenreiter. They all ran in the same circle. And I think they were all a little bit, most of them had a little bit more of an edge than Jack Johnson did, even though Jack Johnson's great. But Ben Harper was my favorite out of that whole stretch. I've talked about Ben Harper and the Innocent Criminals Alive at Mars. I love that record so much. But anyways, this is a really good one. With my own two hands. It's late, guys. Diamonds on the Inside. Diamonds on the Inside is such a really killer track. But there's a lot of good stuff on this album. And it's something I never thought I'd own on vinyl, because I think back then it didn't exist on vinyl. But just cool that I have it. But when I listen to it, I just remember being a kid, like just being a high school like senior, and not knowing what my life was going to look like. And it's crazy that it ended up where it is. I went through a lot of different jobs, went through a lot of different phases, but I remember all my friends had a really solid plan for what they wanted to do. And I just remember laying in my room listening to music, and I'm thinking, I just want to do music. I just want to do something that has to do with music. And to everyone, really it's not a realistic thing. Most people, when they think of what they want their kids to do, they don't want their kids to get into music. They don't want their kids to be, they want them to be successful in some sort of way, which there's not really many avenues that lead to any sort of success with music. And record store owner was not even on the table. That's preposterous at that point, And, just the uncertainty of life, and I didn't know. I was just trying to figure out who I was at that point, you know what I mean? At that point in time, oh my gosh, this is a long story. At that point in time, I had a friend group, and I just realized they weren't good for me, and just kind of like cut ties with everybody, and was really alone, and didn't know what I was going to do. And so met my wife during that time, and we fell in love and had babies, and then the rest is history. All right, let's see. So that was album that takes you back to a specific time. Number 18 is Wildcard. So it's just, Wildcard is anything you want to show. Just something you want to show. And I literally just looked at my shelves. I was like, I haven't talked about that record in a while. I'll show it. So this is the Undisputed Truth, Cosmic Truth. That's the name of the album, Cosmic Truth, by the Undisputed Truth. This is an album, first of all. If you saw this and you didn't know what it was, you'd probably grab it. But this is a pretty cheap record. I think you can get it for like $15 or something. And it's hard to find one clean. This is one I found a couple years ago, and it's like mint. Super, super clean. But it's one of those that I was like, I've heard of the Undisputed Truth for sure. Listened to them before, but I've never heard this album. And I was at the shop, and I threw it on, and I was like, my mind was blown. The kicker on this record, though, is Down by the River. It's a Neil Young song. And I love it. I love that Neil Young song. I love Neil Young. Like he was my own son. But this version of Down by the River is way better than Neil Young's version. It is funky and has a blazing guitar solo in it. Just mind-melting guitar solo. By the way, hot take for you. During your wild card, you can give a hot take. I'll let you guys do a hot take. Hot take for you. A lot of people think about, like, I've heard a lot of people say like Eddie Hazel was like the best, and like he was the only guy doing what he was doing, his guitar styling and all that stuff. Like, he was not the only guy doing what he was doing. Now, granted, Eddie Hazel was amazing, and most people don't even know who he is. But as far as like the funk guitar solo, name 3 funk guitarists. You know, no one can do it. Everyone says Eddie Hazel and that's it. But there was people doing crazy guitar funk, and it's just a lot of the bands didn't make it. Just got this record called The Chaparrals, and the guitar solos in it sound so much like Eddie Hazel. It's crazy. But you know, like Dennis Coffey, white guy, but he still did it. And funk, I mean, his guitar solos are legendary. But this Undisputed Truth, they have insane guitar solos, but all the really good deep funk from like early to mid 70s, there was a lot of that heavy fuzz guitar funk in there that is worth checking out, man. I freaking love it. I love it. A lot of y'all probably don't know this. This is bleeding into my last question, but I like funk as much as I like anything else. I like it as much as I like hard rock, psych, whatever. All right, 19 is an album or artist that you can't seem to get into. That would be Fish. I like Fish. I don't know what it is. I just can't. I can't dig deep. I don't want all the albums. I like listening to it. I can be in a mood where I'm kind of into that. But if I'm into that, I'm probably going to be listening to like Mo or Government Mule or Grateful Dead or something like that. Fish is decent to me. I think they're a great band. Trey Anastasio is a fantastic guitar player. I think they're awesome. It's just not for me for right now. There could be a time to where I just go nuts for Fish, but it's not now. Number 20 is your vinyl aspirations for 2023. What I mean by that is share what you want to get accomplished in your collection over the next year. It could be just to enjoy it. It could be anything. But I'm thinking about, what do I want to do this year with my stuff? Where do I want to go? And I was just looking through like all my funk stuff and realizing like, man, so all this behind me from there all the way to there is rock. So I've got like rock is the base of everything I like, really. I mean, I grew up on rock. I love rock. Blues and rock are the best. I've got like 400 blues records. I should show more often, but I just don't. But how many ever rock that is? I mean, thousands of rock records. Probably 2,500, 3,000 rock records. And then the rest, like the shelf over here that you can't see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cubes of funk soul stuff. Then like a couple cubes of 3 cubes of African stuff. And then I got like 4 or 5 cubes of jazz. So anyways, but my rock outweighs everything. So I've got a really good collection of rock stuff, which you never have it all. But my aspiration for the rest of this year is to get better funk, get more funk stuff, branch out a little bit more into funk, which I love it. And I don't talk about funk that much just because I don't feel as secure talking about it. I didn't grow up listening to funk. I don't really know all that much about funk. I know a decent amount, but I know there's a lot of people like DJs and stuff that probably watch my channel that I'm always worried that I'll sound like an idiot if I don't know what I'm talking about. But I do love funk, and I will recommend funk records that I really like. Sometimes if I just get a record and I really like it, I'll just say, I really like this, That's as far as it goes for me. It sounds really good and it makes me happy. So there you go. So anyways, I want to do more, get a better, more well-rounded funk collections, kind of where I want to go in 2023. But I also want to get my music room together and clean and organized. I got piles of records friggin' everywhere. I want to do a room tour and all that stuff, but I got to get everything kind of how I want it. So anyways, I hope you guys end up doing a vinyl tag video. I love seeing all the vinyl tag videos every year, get to know people I don't know, hearing about records I've never heard of before. So that's kind of the whole point of this, is to get more of you guys making videos. I love it when people start new channels. More the merrier as far as I'm concerned. And hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know in the comments section. Post your own vinyl tag video. Whatever. We'll see you guys next time.